Mr. Street, I think this one will fall in your department.
It's Clean Lake, Clean.
Oh,
We
okay.
actually have the chairperson, go ahead. Go ahead, both of you. We have members of the board that are here. actually.
Oh, okay. I think somebody said that to me, but I've slept since then. How y'all doing?
Good, how are you? I'm there.
Okay. Well, whereas Oklahoma Landscape is home to more than 200 lakes and reservoirs, and together equal more miles of shoreline than the Gulf of Mexico. That's awesome. And Atlantic Ocean shorelines combined. Whereas these lakes and reservoirs are among Oklahoma's most valuable natural resources, and their beneficial uses play an important role in Oklahoma's history, growth, financial well-being, and whereas Oklahoma lakes and reservoirs improve the quality of life for all of our residents, and it's crucial to protect them for future generations, especially Lake Thunderbird. I prefer Lake Murray. But
Yeah, but you drink Lake Thunderbird.
Yeah, well,
You drink Lake Thunderbird.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good point. Whereas Lake Thunderbird is Midwest City's primary, if I read further, primary water source, or source of drinking water, and provides irrigation, energy, recreation, scenic beauty, and habitat for wildlife. And whereas the Lake Thunderbird Watershed Alliance was established in 2020 to work collaboratively with residents, communities, and other stakeholders, the OTA, that was a joke, to protect the water quality and the quality of Lake Thunderbird. Whereas the LTWA serves as a clearinghouse for all information about Lake Thunderbird, including its uses, recreational activities, water quality improvement projects, and associated research and education materials. Whereas the LTWA is working in cooperation with a wide variety of partners, including Lake Thunderbird Park, Thunderbird Sailing Club, City of Midwest City, and other surrounding communities to educate the public about the lake and its watershed. So therefore, I, Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim July 2023 as Lake Appreciation Month, and the week of July 24th as Love Your Lake Week in Midwest City, and invite all citizens to join me in this special observance.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Okay, ESPY. Come down here. ESPY is our diversity chair, and I felt like she would be the one to accept this proclamation. Midwest City is an extremely diverse community. We appreciate and celebrate the diversity in our community. That means everybody. So this proclamation is kind of special and recognizes that diversity. Whereas the City of Midwest City and our community values and our diversity, we wish to demonstrate our core values of equity, inclusion, and safety for all persons by recognizing Pride Month. Whereas all people deserve the assurance of basic principles of equity and human rights guaranteed by our Constitution and Bill of Rights, so the politics of division, isolation, and hate have no place in our community. Whereas we, the City Council of the City of Midwest City, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim that we have reaffirmed our community's shared values of compassion, inclusion, and respect and dignity, and are committed to building that environment and within the community in which everybody is valued and everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Whereas in celebrating our community diversity, we welcome all people who live, work, and go to school here, regardless of the national origin, color, race, sexual orientation, or gender identity, financial or social economic status, or political opinion. So therefore, I, Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 as Pride Month in the city of Midwest City and encourage all citizens to treat each one of us with value and inclusion.
Thank you, Mayor.
Whoa. Okay. That's what I'm fixing to do. Okay. Is that okay? It's right here on my agenda. Just a little technical issue. How you doing?
I'm good.
You're next
First
on the
off,
agenda.
I want to say thank you to the young man for an outstanding job on the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as adjusting the microphone to a man as short as I am. That helps a lot. Thank you very much. First, I'll introduce myself. My name's Kent Legale. I'm Executive Director for the Oklahoma Fire Chiefs Association. And on behalf of the Executive Board, the members of the Oklahoma Fire Chiefs Association, I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to be here to present this award to your fire chief, Bert Norton. To tell you a little bit about our organization, we were established in 1922. Over 100 years ago, just celebrated our 101st year down in Lawton, at which we presented this award to Chief Norton. But our job, our mission is to provide professional leadership, if you can say it, to chief officers concerning fire and life safety for the citizens of Oklahoma. That's our mission. About 1999, the membership decided that we needed an award to recognize outstanding actions and activities by chief officers in the state of Oklahoma. So the J. Ray Pence Leadership Award was established to recognize the actions and activities of active chief officers in Oklahoma that produce progressive improvements in safety, efficiency, and effectiveness in the areas of fire prevention, fire suppression, and fire administration that are outstanding in nature or impact. Now, I was going to tell you a little bit about J. Ray Pence. He's a pretty unique individual, but the characteristics that you see in your fire chief are the same ones that were in J. Ray Pence over 100 years ago. That's just the type of guy he was, and that's the reason the award was named after him. Before I bring up some members of the executive board to present this award, I will say that Midwest City has something very proud to be, that you should be proud of. Midwest City is the only city in the state of Oklahoma that now has 2 J. Ray Pence Award winners as their fire chiefs. The first one that you would probably all remember was Chief Mike Bauer in 2001. So I want to introduce a couple of members, or 3 of the members of the executive board. Our president, Richard Kelly, Oklahoma City, first vice president, Craig Carruth from Mustang, and third vice president, Terry Esri, chief in Stillwater. And I'll let them give the award.
Very good. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, again, it's our pleasure to be here. I want to read to you the nomination by which the Oklahoma Fire Chiefs received on behalf of Chief Norton. Please accept this letter as a nomination for Bert Norton for the J. Ray Pence Leadership Award. As a retired member of the Midwest City Fire Department, I am honored to recommend Chief Norton for this award out of respect and admiration for the significance of the Chief Pence and past honorees. Chief Norton joined the Midwest City Fire Department in 2001 after serving 6 years with the Harrah Fire Department. Chief Norton promoted through the ranks and was named Fire Chief in 2015. Throughout this time, Chief Norton consistently went above and beyond, serving on boards of the State of Oklahoma Firefighters Association and the Oklahoma Fire Chiefs Association. He has served on the board of director of the Southwestern Division for the International Association of Fire Chiefs, which he is currently president. He was the first company officer in Oklahoma to be credentialed as a fire officer by the Center for Public Safety Excellence in 2013. In 2021, he completed the Executive Fire Officer program from the National Fire Academy. While working through the ranks of the department, he completed an associate degree in municipal fire protection and a bachelor's degree in emergency responder administration, both from Oklahoma State University, Oklahoma City. Since graduating from the program, he has served as an adjunct professor for the programs. In the summer of 2022, Chief Norton completed a master's degree in public service and safety leadership from Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. As part of this program, students complete professional capstone projects. Chief Norton's capstone was titled Qualifications for Fire Chiefs, which he has since presented as the Oklahoma Municipal League Conference. After extensive research, his project provides future candidates, organizations, and municipalities guidance on the knowledge, skills, and abilities for fire chiefs. Although he has been heavily involved in many professional organizations and has led by example in developing himself as a leader, the impact he has made on the Midwest City Fire Department and the Oklahoma Fire Service justifies him for this award. As a colleague and friend, I have worked closely with Chief Norton since 2001. I have personally witnessed his courage and tenacity to address issues and tackle problems. As a leader, he does not take the easy path or concern himself with popular opinion. He is tough, honest, and reliable, which are qualities and respects of a fire chief and desired by anyone in leadership positions. I am confident that Chief Norton's contributions to the Oklahoma Fire Service will be long-lasting for many years in future generations of the fire service. It is my honor to nominate Chief Burt Norton for the J. Ray Pence Leadership Award, Jarrett Matheny. And it's with this nomination that the organization assembled a committee and proudly and honorably awards Chief Burt Norton the J. Ray Pence Award. Chief Norton.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here in the award. You're extremely, you're right, and in fact, we're extremely proud of our fire department and the work they do and the professionalism. And once again, we have to tout the fact that we were one of the first in the region to obtain ISO 1 rating. So we're still proud of that, and we hang that high on our amount of achievements. So thank you guys for being here. We do appreciate it. Now we move into community-related announcements. Mr. Lyon.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to first start by personally thanking our city staff who went above and beyond their work hours this past week to offer a special Midwest Point resource fair to potentially displaced families. This occurred yesterday afternoon. We've received many thanks and appreciations from the residents. We also received accolades from resource agencies that came out to offer hope and help. They expressed that it was a wonderful community outreach and that they would like to be a part of more of these type of things in the future. So just for me personally, thank you for all the staff who put this together in a very quick order and spent a lot of time on this event. So thank you. I'd like to congratulate the Midwest City Juneteenth Committee on a successful event on June 17th. I think we had pictures flowing up earlier of some of the event pictures. This was the inaugural Juneteenth celebration of families that included music, vendors, and food. It was a great time, and many people told us that they are looking forward to next year's event. So great job. First time. I know we have Marcus here. I don't know who all was on the committee. I think SB was, but you guys are awesome. Thank you.
by the way, he's the father of the young man that was up here, so it runs in the family.
So beginning
Mr.
tomorrow,
Ryan, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to also recognize Mrs. Nanette Cummings, who's also on the committee. And also, there's a young youth photojournalist who volunteered her time for free to document the events, and her name is Antonia Moore. If you would please also stand. And then before you proceed, we had many city employees who worked throughout a weekend overtime, many of them the day before Father's Day, many of them fathers themselves, including some of our sanitation workers, our waste management employees, our police officers and firefighters, along with the gentlemen who helped put up the stage. So we are very grateful for you going above and beyond to make that possible as well.
all right, beginning tomorrow, June 28th, WP Bill Atkinson Park will be closed until further notice due to equipment installation on the clock tower that is within feet of the park. So I didn't have a time, so approximate, somebody? How long? Yeah, there's no time for the clock tower. How long are we going to be closed down? We don't know.
We're assuming all day.
One day, a day or two?
Yeah.
Okay. I hear a voice in the back. I didn't, okay. I see you now. Next, Cruising for Coffee is Saturday, July 15th from 8 to 11 in the Santa Fe parking lot on 29th Street. And then we're very happy to announce this, on July 11th, Centrillium Protein LC and the Economic Development Authority will host a groundbreaking at 9 a.m. at the 7200 block of 36th Street in preparation for the construction of a new $7 million food processing plant that will create over 100 above-average jobs, which is expected to open in the fall of 2024. So, good job, Robert Coleman. July 1st and 2nd is the free Tinker Air Show with live streaming available on Tinker's Facebook page. Looking for the first 100,000 people on Saturday. I think that's the limit. So I think it opens at 8 or 9 in the morning. So get there early. And what time? 8 a.m. So we're looking forward to seeing the Blue Angels fly this year and many other acts. On July 4th, come celebrate our country's freedom at the annual Tribute to Liberty event from 7 to 10 p.m. at Joe B. Barnes Regional Park. Bring your lawn chairs, enjoy the food trucks and music before the fireworks. As always, it'll be a great time. If your trash and recycling scheduled for Tuesday, July 4th, it will be picked up the following day on July 5th. And finally, the compost facility will be open Saturday, July 1st, extended hours from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and will return to normal operations or normal hours of operations beginning the week of July 3rd, but will be closed on July 4th. Contact Public Works Administration at 405-739-1066 with any questions or concerns. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. We move into our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that the council, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any council member will request to discuss an item, or if unanimous consent cannot be received, the item will be removed and heard in regular order. The chair to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may be recognized, I move to approve the consent agenda outside of item number 22 to be pulled for discussion.
The motion is to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 22 and pulled for discussion. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Ms. Bannon.
Hang on, item 22.
Or, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Discussion and consideration, possible action on reappointing Chris Clark and appointing Kaylee Wilson to 3-year terms for the Midwest City Building Advisory Board.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bundy. Would you be able to give us a little bit of a historical context and also give us a definition or the scope of what the Building Advisory Board does, when it was established, and what the scope of their duties and responsibilities are, or the description of the board?
I don't know when it was established, but essentially what they do is they advise the council on any builder-related items such as ordinance changes related to the building code.
I've begun doing something that I've been an advocate for on this horseshoe, which I don't know either one of the gentlemen. I assume they are outstanding, qualified professionals. However, we've been having a lot of conversations around conflicts of interest, and I believe some of the ordinances and charter language that we have goes as far as including appointed figures, in regards to being cautious about conflicts. So one of the gentlemen that I noticed is president of a design architectural firm, and then the other individual was also involved in the business. He was also a real estate agent and also the co-founder of Empirical Homes. Given the fact that they work within the industry of building and buildings, and potential conflicts that could exist with fellow colleagues within that industry, I just wonder if we are going to the level we need to declare folks for conflicts. And I do respect, Mayor, we have oftentimes had conversations that it is hard and difficult to identify people willing to serve, particularly those with qualifications, but we want to be consistent in conflicts of interest if we're going to be serious about addressing them.
So you have to be on the Builders Advisory Board, you have to build or own a business that builds in Midwest City. So you don't have to live in Midwest City, but you have to build in Midwest City. And that is a qualification, so they have to be familiar with it. It can't just be a lay person that's unfamiliar with building code. Chris Clark has been on the advisory board, and so this is a reappointment. He is a residential builder. And Cale Wilson was nominated by the board president, and he is an architect. He doesn't do any projects for the city itself. Most recently, he worked with a builder to do the Middell bond projects, the stadiums. So he does work here in Midwest City.
With that said, I guess that clears any conflicts that may potentially exist. I don't know.
Yeah, just so you know, Section 9-17 does make that, of the city ordinances of the city of Midwest City, does make one of the qualifications. It specifically says ownership, operation, or involvement in the building, construction, or development business within the city. And to answer your other question, these ordinances were adopted back in 1972. So the board was created at least by ordinance in 1972.
Thank you so much.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote, please.
Is it you? Eads?
Yes.
Byrne?
Yes.
Reed? Yes. Banna?
Nay.
Favors?
Yes.
Dukes?
Yes. According to my calculation, the motion passes. We now move into our discussion items. Mr. Lyon, discussion item number 1.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding a 3% across-the-board increase to the base salary of the city employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement to be effective July 1, 2023. This was included in the budget that was recently approved at the last council meeting.
We approved the budget, why do we now have to approve the contract? We have to approve the budget first, and then do the contracts later?
This is how the city's done it. I'm not sure why we have to do that, but
It's been the practice of the last
It's been a
many
past
years.
practice.
So as
And
I always
prior
like
to
to
me
say,
as
as past practices, in the future, if there's any way to only take one vote instead of two, let's figure out one instead of two.
That is something we will need to investigate. The reason we put it on here was exactly what Mr. Lyon and Mr. Bradley just said. We have done it this way in the past. We've done it this way for a number of years. Didn't have time to completely research that when the agenda came out, something that is on my to-do task between now and the end, this time next year, to see if we need to do both.
Because the less time 7 people have to vote, the less opportunity the 7 of us have to screw up.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion or questions from Mr. Bradley? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you.
Discussion item number 2, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action assigning and executing the School Resource Officer Mutual Cooperation Agreement with the Middale School System for a time period of July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024. Middale School System will pay the city the amount of $169,884.04 for the term of this contract.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Discussion item number 3. This will, on your addendum, ladies and gentlemen.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action of passing, approving the amended Resolution 2023-10 and proclamation of the City of Midwest City, Oklahoma, authorizing the calling and holding of a special election in the City of Midwest City, County of Oklahoma, State of Oklahoma, on Tuesday, September 12, 2023, for the purpose of submitting to the qualified electors of the City of Midwest City, Oklahoma, the question for their approval or rejection of approving ordinance number 3514 relating to the excise tax.
I'm going to move to approve this lean, mean version that we have come up with.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We now move into new business public discussion. There are several people that have signed up. I do want to remind you, before I call you down, that because these are not agenda items, we cannot engage in a back and forth discussion on these items. But if we find that an item is noteworthy, we will make note of it and bring it back as an agenda item as soon as we possibly can. Also, you'll have 4 minutes to convey your wishes to the council, so we will be keeping time and let you know when you're getting close. That being said, Richard Hagel?
Yeah, Hample.
Please state your name and address when you approach the podium.
Richard Hample, 409 West Silverwood, apartment 106. I suspect when you hear my address, you'll know why I am here. It's about the mass eviction notice, obviously. Let me quickly summarize. I've been living in Midwest City for 30 years, all of it at that apartment complex. So I'm the oldest living resident of the place. I probably know it better than anybody, even the management. I've also held some pretty responsible jobs. I've been a military officer for 14 years, and then I was a programmer out at the FAA for another 20 years. So I'm not poor, and actually a lot of people at that apartment complex, you may think a lot of them are poor, but many are not. One of the surest indicators is there's DirecTV satellite dishes all over the place in there. And poor people do not buy DirecTV. The things that worried me about the move, the number one thing is the very short deadline of only a month to get out of there. For people like me, I've got I haven't searched for an apartment or done a move in 30 years. I don't know very well how to do it. I don't know anything about the local apartments. It's going to take me a while to learn. And I've also got 30 years of clutter in that place. And it's going to take an awful lot of time to throw about half of it in the trash can before I move the other half. And that's not going to be easy to do in a month. And I went to the meeting yesterday. I was glad you had it, but it didn't actually answer a lot of the questions I had. One of my big ones is, do we actually have to pay next month's rent on the 1st? And if we do, what do we get for it? Will the landlord be obligated to still maintain my place and like clean up a clogged drain if I get one? Because if that's true, I would go ahead and pay it because I'm getting value for it, even though probably not full value, since I may not be there the whole month, but I'll get most value. And the main thing I'm worried about is I haven't seen much assistance coming on key items like apartment search and relocation help. Like, knowing what all the best apartments are and like which ones have which types of rooms so I can know which ones I want to visit right away. And I can dig up a lot of that on the internet, but it's going to take me a while to do it. It would have been handy, and it would be handy if there was some contact person that would help all of us residents with a lot of that stuff, because it's going to be a lot of work to move, it's going to be a lot of work to move a whole gob of people out of that apartment, and a lot of them, I don't think any of them have been there as long as I have, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of like 10-year residents around there who are very much used to living in the place. I will say I don't mind you condemning the place because the apartment managers definitely fell down on the job. What I will say is they weren't always bad. When I first moved into that place 30 years ago, it was actually one of the best run apartment complexes in the city. I was very happy there for about 15 years, and then they sold the place to some out-of-town slumlords from California, and ever since that it's been going downhill. So it's sort of a long saga. And I'm not sure everybody here is familiar with all the details. And I've talked to two of you council members already, and you've been very polite and pretty helpful, even if sometimes you were telling me what you can't do rather than what you can. But the reasons you couldn't do it were sensible. Like one plan I had proposed is instead of a 1-month eviction, just tell the landlord that they can't sublet any new apartments, basically making sure the problem can't possibly get worse, and then people will gradually leave from attrition and solve the problem for you. But that gives us existing residents lots of time to move out, so we're not rushed. I was wondering if that's a possible amendment to the eviction order.
Thank you for being here. Your time has kind of run out, but your comments have been duly noted, and somebody from one of our offices will be sitting down and talking to you about some of the issues you brought forward.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
And if any one of you want to talk to me afterwards, I would appreciate it, and I think I would be an excellent person to talk to, because I've been at that place so long, I know it better than any tenant there. I know all the problems.
Thank you, sir, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Cummings, Annette Cummings.
Afternoon, everyone. I, again, is here again to complain.
Could you say your name and address again?
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
You all know me, though. My name is Nanette Cummings, 1217 Allen Lane, Midwest City, 73130. The reason I'm here today is I've had a lot of issues come to me again regarding the apartments. It was brought to my attention last weekend, and thanks again, everyone who participated in the Juneteenth. But as I was there working, some of the residents said to me, there's a list. I asked about this list yesterday, did not get an answer. No one knew. They said that several of the apartments are going through what the apartments are going through on Air Depot. I said I was unaware of that. I do know there are apartments by my neighborhood. And they said, well, this has been going on since 2019. I'm a little concerned. 2019, this gentleman said he's been there 30 years. Someone should have said something. I understand that there's a reason for someone, because we don't have all the information and we kind of lay behind. I also know that as a citizen, these people are taxpayers just as I am as a resident. That means they're contributing a lot of money. This man has contributed money, and so are the other residents. My concern is you all are going to go into the executive session, and these things are going to be kept away from us and unaware until the last minute. I think that's unfair to the citizens who pay the taxes here, because it's not just you all who sit on this horseshoe and pay the taxes. We pay them. We are responsible. This is what keeps you all's jobs and your city's jobs. I think we need to do a little more than what we are doing for us giving out information and letting these people know what's going on. It's a little unfair to me as a taxpayer, unfair to him as a renter and a taxpayer, because he's paying more than we are. And that is something we all should think about at this present time. This is our livelihood. We don't get to go home to another house and say it's okay, because we're in the grit of it and making sure that we're going to be okay. Now, I can't say what's going on our depot, but when it comes to Douglas and those apartments, what are we going to do about the homeless? What are we going to do about the crime? I have 27 years at 1217 Allen Lane and had no problems, thanks to the police, thanks to the care of the neighbors. But what happens when you get a vacancy and it goes and sit like our mall has done? That's a little unfair to us. And you can go in executive session and make your decision, and not one of you all are going to be a part of that because you are not walking in these shoes. And that's unfair. It was brought to my attention during that time that this is mostly in Ward 5. I did ask that question, and I would like an answer. And I think these citizens deserve an answer, because they did come and they chose to stay in this city, which is not bad, but it sure isn't good if you're going to do things like this. And that's unfair. That's airing our dirty laundry out to the public now. I think we need to do something to solve this issue and not let it get worse, especially if there is a list. That is not what we need to hear about. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Hollis?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to shout from that microphone. I have a very strong voice, so I don't want to blow you out. My name is LaDonna Hollins. I'm a retired nurse for 50-something years. In the business, I retired 2 years ago.
Can you give us your address, Ms. Hollis?
405 West Silverwood Drive, Midwest Point Apartments. Been there for 6 years.
Thank you.
Yes, I've been there for 6 years. It was quite a rude awakening to be waking up out of my 2 o'clock siesta to a pounding on the door saying that my apartment was unsafe. I've been there for 6 years. The community there I love. We look after each other and everything like that. My apartment is not error-free. It's an old building. It has leaks in the windows, sometimes a little rain, but uninhabitable. My apartment, I have a problem with that. I live there, I've been there. I'm going into another month, and 4 days, it's time to pay rent again. Now, I'm not a poor resident, but I'm far from rich. So it would be very hard for me to move and pay to stay. I have a legal question. If I do not pay, are they gonna lock my stuff up in the apartment? Because they've been locking down apartments all day today. The sheriff, business is going on as usual. I have a neighbor, she's been there 2 months. She has children. She paid over $1,200 for her apartment to move in. What do we do? I don't have a problem going. I have a problem with the monetary thing about it, and I also have a problem with the owners not coming and addressing the residents. We want answers. We don't want it yesterday, we want it today. And that's all I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Joel Simmons.
Evening, guys. I'm Joel Simmons, 230 East Kitty Hawk, the original mile. Our families lived there for over 50 years, one part or another. And I'm a retired electrical contractor, worked since 1970 in the trade. And what I'm seeing in my neighborhood is the trees growing in the electrical lines. And, you know, I've got a friend that was in charge of voltage quality with OG&E. They're having a voltage quality meeting. He addresses it, and he said, well, what are we doing about tree trimming? He said, we're cutting the budget. He said, well, it's the end of meeting. We don't have anything else to talk about. Most people don't understand quality power comes from keeping the trees out. When the tree limbs short out the circuit will just drop like a rock, and then it'll shoot sky high. And you know what that does to electronics? It'll perforate the computers, anything electronic that's plugged into it, unless you have major surge protection built into your house. According to the rules, it's supposed to be trimmed 10 to 15 feet away from the line. And that's on a 4-year basis. They say they do it every 3 years. When the neighborhood went dark the other day, I went and talked to the tree trimmers. And he's looking down the line, he said, my God, how long's it been since they trimmed the trees? And I said, I haven't seen them trim them, period. They're completely encapsulating the poles and the lines, 6 feet beyond. So much for the rule to be 10 feet away from the line. There's probably more to the story than we can get into and that I can prove, but we need voltage quality. When winter hits and those lines, those trees get loaded up with ice, it's going to take us out and do major damage. So OG&E is going to cry like a calf caught in a new gate to the Corporation Commission and say, we need help because of an act of God. When in reality, it's not an act of God, it's an act of irresponsibility on their part and to do diligent maintenance. So I'm addressing you guys that maybe that somebody in the city can hold them accountable. If they say they're on a 3-year rotation on the neighborhood, how about documentation? If we don't have documentation, it didn't happen. If they are not held accountable. But the undue, when we lose our power, then, we have elderly in the neighborhood, they're losing everything in the refrigerator, they don't have generators, they have a real problem. So, I feel sorry for them. I've got 2 or 3 generators, and our power line on our side is a little better because it's in a wrapped triplex and it's not open so much to the trees. On the north side, it's loaded. Ridiculous. That's my gripe. I can gripe to OG&E. In fact, I have griped to OG&E. They're doing good? No. Just turn a blind eye. Hopefully somebody under you guys' authority, can get their attention. That's what I'd like to see happen.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being
You
here.
bet.
You're dead right on that. I've worried about the same thing.
Shelley Ritchie? Shelley Ritchie?
I noticed Miss Ritchie stepped out. She may have left, Mayor. I'm not sure. Thank you, Chief.
Melania Fish?
Hello, my name is Melanie Fish. I first want to start out with the land acknowledgement. We are on Kickapoo land, and I just wanted that to be known. Also, I wanted to recognize that this week is Two-Spirited Week, so let's be a little bit more understanding to the things that we don't understand, because in my world, we have always had two-spirited people. And the third thing is that I live in a not-so-great area, and I need, 1600 Melinda Lane in Midwest City, 73130. And Miss Sarah Banna, she's helping us rebuild the community that I'm in. I'm in the place that people like to call Murder One. I want to reclaim that. So if you could, please start calling that Telstar Park. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of our new business public discussion. We do have an executive session attached to this agenda, and I would entertain a motion to recess and move into our next agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We're hereby recessed from the council agenda, and we move into the Midwest City Municipal Authority. We have a consent agenda with this agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda, so the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests to discuss an item or unanimous consent cannot be received, then the item will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we're hereby adjourned. And I call to order the Midwest City Hospital Authority. There is a consent agenda on this agenda. These items will be placed on the consent agenda. So the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests to discuss an item or there is not unanimous consent, then the item will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We have two discussion items. Discussion item, number one, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration of possible action of the following agreement with Capital Decisions, Inc. in the amount of $115,000 to continue to provide consultant services regarding economic, community development, and redevelopment interests in Midwest City for a period of from July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2024. This is a contract that has, I'm not sure how many years it's been with the city, for a very long time. J.R. Reskovac, who is one of the principals at Capital Decisions, is here, who's our direct contact, provides grant economic development assistance in Washington, D.C. for our various appropriations.
I'm going to move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number two, there's no action required, ladies and gentlemen. We move into new business public discussion. Is there anyone that has anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby...
Hold on, Mayor, I think the gentleman does.
You want to address the council, JR? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Please come forward. I'm moving too quickly for you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great to be home. For those who have joined the council since I was here, welcome. And for those that have been here, good to see you again. I want to give you an update on our activities over the last, I guess, 2 fiscal years, just quickly. Our job is to provide some support with the congressional delegation, identify strategic objectives that you identify. Tim, Terry, the mayor and council come up with those strategic objectives, and we go try to get it funded. So we have been doing this since 1999. After the tornado, our job, we were approached to help reestablish the tax base. And the quick story I'll tell you is part of that was the Reed Center. Part of that was federally funded because at that time, the tornado warning, where if the chief's still here, you had to have a community shelter to go to. That's no longer the case, but we were able to provide some federal funding for the Reed Center. Uterberg Drive, highway infrastructure, sewer infrastructure. And so we did that for a number of years. And then about 7 years ago, they decided that these earmarks, or what they call community development projects, would be put on hold. So as part of that, we became authorization creative. And so there's a Water Resources Development Act where cities asked the Congress for authorizations for specific projects. You all had the Power Boost power station that we had authorized in 2007. Took a while to get that funded. However, you all obviously passed a bond election which funded portions of that. We had, during that time, were able to go into that Water Resources Development Bill, and the original $2 million authorization became a $5 million authorization. And shortly after that, in the last 3 years, we were able to get $5 million through the construction core account to contribute to that project. What's interesting about that is we were the largest construction project in the state for the city of Midwest City, so we're somewhat proud of that. So the last 3 years, we've been able to work with a delegation. Obviously, you have a member of Congress that's very high up on the Appropriations Committee and listens to our concerns, and over the last 19 years has been very supportive of what you all are doing. And after 2 years ago, we were able to get the Southeast 15th Street Drainage Project funded last year. We were also able to fund the Southeast 29th Midwest City street improvements, that four-way intersection with all this wonderful technologies that's coming your way. That's going to be important because of what's happening on Douglas Boulevard and all the throughways on each side of the city, so we're very thankful that that was funded. This year, we're asking the Federal Railroad Administration, or the city is, and we're assisting in that process to $3 million for the Rail Spur Development Project. So we're very excited about that. What's unique about that historically, when you look at all the towns in the country that hire consultants, no one asks for very much money out of the Federal Railroad Administration account. So good on you, right? So when you go to conference and final negotiations, you're safe to some extent. But it's been an interesting year in Congress, as you well know. There is an agreement with the debt ceiling that the appropriations budget will carry forward. Ideally, there would be 13 individual appropriations bills. Because of the debt ceiling debate, we're late in that process this year. So I anticipate the first subcommittee to mark up for our requested project will probably be in the next couple of weeks. And we are grateful that Congressman Cole is the chairman of that subcommittee. So we'll go to conference probably in the fall, and then we will come back and hopefully bring you the good news. So in the last 3 years, that's about $10 million that we've been able to assist the city with, as well as working with the delegation, and as well as people outside the delegation that have influence over those accounts in both the authorization and appropriations process. We did a back-of-the-envelope calculation for those that have just joined the council. We have assisted, since that tornado in '99, about $25 million total for enhancement for the city of Midwest City. And my Oklahoman in me, every time I come home, you get to see some of the product of that work. And we've got a great team. You got a great city team. I've been working with Terry and Tim for a long time, and you all are focused. And there was a time when some cities in this state decided that they didn't need representation. And now you all are kind of, I guess, yielding the benefit of that because they decided that they wanted to go their own direction. But as people have said in the past, that money's going somewhere. If it's available, why can't it come to us? So we appreciate your continued support. I'm a 24/7 guy. I'm not a 9 to 5 or a 6 to 12. So feel free to reach out at any time. We're pleased with what we do. We're happy with the people that we work with. It's a joy to do it, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and we're planning for next year.
JR, if I remember correctly, this was before my time on the council, before we hired a lobbyist, the amount of money that we got from DC by going to the trips was zero. So I'm just saying that I think a lobbyist is something that we definitely need.
Thank you for that. And it's interesting. I mean, I don't want to take too much more of the council or mayor's time or Tim's, but it's. I just want to thank the staff also for the creativity they have. I mean, they're addressing issues that can't be normally funded, and we're able to kind of achieve money for those projects that are desperately needed. One more thing I'll mention. On top of that, we also send out a weekly legislative report that hopefully is in your inboxes either Thursday night or Friday. We also do a local government update on a weekly basis when Congress is in session, which identifies grant opportunities are available at the that would be available for Midwest City. Of course, Terry does a great job of that. We've helped with some congressional support for the fire department's Assistance for Firefighters grant update. We've done that over the years. Helped with an EDA grant for the industrial park years ago. So we're kind of all over the map based upon the direction you and the mayor and the council would give. So thank you for the honor. We've been on a good ride, and we've got a long way to go. So thank you for your time.
JR, one thing I want to emphasize, and you've mentioned it a couple times, you listen to the council, whatever the council wants you to do. The important thing to realize, though, is that in this form, I'm sure you know it, you've been in this business in Midwest City since '99. We're not, the person that you need to be talking to is him and his staff, because we give them, we give them ideas and stuff, but we're not involved in the day-to-day operations by charter. We can't be.
Correct.
So it's important that you keep Tim and whoever his delegate is informed of what's going on, because then they'll bring it to us. So that's
Absolutely.
like I said, I'm sure you're aware of it, but I just want
Yes, sir.
people to understand that that's how the process works.
Well, and I'd like to recognize Terry Kraft and really Brandon Bundy
Absolutely.
primarily. They're the ones that dream up the ideas, and Brandon figures out how to budget them, come up with.
And implement it.
Yeah, and then has to be implemented.
Administer it. So
Well, thank you for that update, JR.
Thank you so
and we'll look
much.
forward to seeing you in several months.
absolutely.
Thank you
With
for
more
all
good
you
news.
do for us, JR.
Thank you very
And
much.
keep grabbing us those dollars.
Thank you. It's
We
an
need
honor.
them.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
You did. Thank you so much.
I think we were moving into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I call to order the Special Economic Development Authority. We have two discussion items on this agenda. Mr. Lyon.
Number one, discussion, consideration, possible action approving the June 13th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Number two, Mr. Ryan.
Discussion, consideration, possible action to amend and/or approve a resolution of the Midwest City Economic Development Authority approving that certain economic development assistance agreement by and between the Midwest City Economic Development Authority and the Midwest City Utilities Authority and American Glass, Inc. the Development Assistance Agreement authorizing and directing the execution and delivery of the Development Assistance Agreement and containing other provisions relating thereto. Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Chairman and trustees, for the past 7 months, we've been working with American Glass in an effort to site its new headquarters and production facility in the Soldier Creek Industrial Park. You remember back in February, late February, we entered into a real estate agreement to sell off the 11.73 acres that make up the frontage of the Soldier Creek Industrial Park, and we've been trying to iron out other issues ever since. The latest and perhaps the last documents requiring your approval are found on tonight's Economic Development and Utilities Authority agenda, and we will explain both now. SCIP was built with a concept of exchanging jobs for above average paying, or land for above average paying jobs, and in these agreements, American is committing to nearly 70 full-time jobs, most of which will be American employees, some will be contractors, but the average wage of these jobs will be well above the metro average. American is also committing to constructing a beautiful development with a building design that will set the standard throughout SCIP and beyond, and we hope this is the first of many magnificent developments along the way as we work with the City of Spencer and Oklahoma County District 1 in an effort to improve commerce within the Northeast 23rd Street corridor. In exchange, the Utilities Authority, owner of the Soldier Creek Industrial Park, will rebate the purchase price of the land less any closing cost. The Economic Development Authority will rebate American up to $50,000 spent on landscaping and other construction costs as detailed in Article 4 of the agreement, which is found on pages 7 through 9. In addition, the EDA will pay for the design, installation, and inspection of the railroad switch and spur that will serve the Soldier Creek Industrial Park. The proposed rail switch and spur were originally included in SCIP's designs, but it did not make sense to invest the $2+ million necessary to do so until we had a user. Once the railroad is in place, we suspect it will be much easier to recruit development to the south half of the industrial park. It is important to remember that our investment in this park will slowly return through incremental gains in real estate and personal property tax collections via the North Side Improvement District, otherwise known as TIF District Number 3. The American Glass Agreement, in combination with the changes to the Centrillium's Protein Project, will require an amendment to the North Side Improvement District, which we hope to have to you in late July or perhaps August. We're working on scheduling that right now. We're also trying to offset some of the construction costs on both projects with federal assistance that JR described, as well as some state opportunities that we're pursuing and that we're trying to help American Glass pursue as well. In the audience tonight is Sam Godere with American Glass, and if you have any questions of him or myself, we'll be glad to answer those now.
Where's Sam? There he is.
There he is. I have a question, Robert.
Yes.
In follow-up. And again, thank you for being here again. I don't think that this is going to be an issue based upon the presentation that these gentlemen brought to us and their degree of professionalism and their idea to put forward an excellent product there in SCIP. But I do have some concern about the money to be spent on landscaping, not the dollars for landscaping, but just to make sure that it's going to be maintained. And so we've spent money in other areas with regard to landscaping, and those folks have not maintained it, and then it just dies off, and it looks that much worse, and et cetera. So I just kind of wanted to ask the question to ensure that, you know, we're in a symbiotic relationship where we provide the landscaping and you all are going to maintain it. And I believe, based upon the presentation you all gave us before, you're very excited, and we're very excited to have you here in Midwest City. I just wanted to put that ask in, so to speak, because it's so disappointing when we make those investments and then it's not actually maintained. So,
speaking to that, we're going to have our permit set ready for issue on Friday. And for the landscape, and the only reason why it was even requested was because along the north side of it, along 23rd, you've got that right of way. And so what we're trying to do is plant trees that you'll see in the landscape plan for the permit set that we're issuing. And what that's going to do is, to the north, I mean, we're trying to build a facility. You guys have seen the renderings of what the building's going to look like. We're even using the unitized curtain wall system that we've developed along the entire west elevation. And then along the north side, we will have all glass and stainless steel panels. That's going to give it a very modern look. And so what we're trying to do is put a nice stamp on the Soldier Creek Industrial Park. I mean, having that frontage along 23rd, I mean, it's our full objective to have signs out there, which is also a part of the agreement, if you look at, which is for the industrial park itself. But it's a great opportunity for American Glass, who's always looking for new employees, new people to hire, to have 25, 26,000 people that drive along 23rd Street every single day. And so they're going to see signs for American Glass hiring, and they're going to see a building that is going to be one that they want to operate in, and we're making every effort possible. And so the landscape isn't for our property even, it's even in the right-of-way and in the easements, and that's something that we're trying to design it so where it's going to be maintained, and a lot of it is going into the trees that are going to go along the entire north frontage.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Thank you, guys, appreciate it. Now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we hereby adjourn, and I call the order of the Special Utilities Authority. We have two discussion items, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving the June 13, 2023 meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 2.
Discussion, consideration, possible action to amend and/or approve a resolution of the Midwest City Utilities Authority approving that certain economic development assistance agreement by and between the Midwest City Economic Development Authority and the Midwest City Utilities Authority and American Glass, Inc., authorizing and directing the execution and delivery of the development assistance agreement and containing other provisions relating thereto.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We now move into a new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I entertain a motion to move back and go back into the city council agenda. Thank you, Mr. Reed. I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We have reconvened the council agenda, and I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I got to read it. Discussion, consideration, possible action to enter into executive session is allowed under Title 25, Section 307B4, discuss confidential communications between a public body and its attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim or action of the public body when the advice of its attorney determining that disclosure will seriously impair the ability of the public body to process the claim or conduct a pending investigation, litigation, or proceeding in the public interest, and authorizing the city or city manager to take action as appropriate based on discussion regarding 1, Resolution 20-23, 2023-12 that declared buildings 401A, 401B, 403, 405, 407, 409, 411, 413, 415, 433, 437, and 439 located at 1200 North Air Depot Boulevard is dilapidated, and 2, the legal opinion of outside counsel regarding contractual issues.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move into executive session. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Council will be staying down here for executive session.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming. Thank you for all you do. Yep.
Tim, thank you.